So we are here today to talk about the MiraMate ray gun. Okay, what is the ray gun? It creates 221 to 222 nanometer VUV light within the gas tube. The photons of this light are powerful enough to kill fungi, viruses, and malignant cells living on the skin, but it's safe. The dead skin layer on the human body almost completely absorbs VUV radiation, and so it will not harm normal skin cells. The photons will set off a chemical reaction to create nitric oxide and ozone, which you can smell when you use it, within cells and tissues. It forms a microscopic secondary ionization layer between the gas tube and the target skin, where current will flow between the tube and the target. You will feel this like a slight tingle sometimes, but it's certainly not painful. You can increase this current by using an earthing pad on the opposite side of the target area, and this will increase the amount of ozone and nitric oxide and allow them to reach the deeper problem areas. So this is what it is, and this is what it's for. So before I actually show you the ray gun and show you what you get when you purchase it, we're going to talk a wee bit about what is VUV light, why is it so important that the ray gun is set for 222 nanometer VUV light, what can it treat, and does it hurt? Okay, so the first question, what is VUV light? So ultraviolet, which is just UV, is electromagnetic radiation with a wavelength that goes from 40 nanometers up to 400 nanometers. When we talk about vacuum UV, that's the VUV, and it's a short wavelength UV light. It doesn't travel very well through the air, but the photon energy of it is very high, and almost any substance will absorb it. Okay, so normal air reduces the strength, and so the further it goes, the weaker it becomes. However, it can kill funguses, bacteria, viruses, and cancer cells living on the skin without damaging normal skin cells. Okay, now as I said before, it creates nitric oxide and ozone within the cells and tissues. Now, the benefit that you're going to get from the nitric oxide depends on how much you're actually getting and the local concentration achieved. Healthy cells thrive on oxygen and they can't live without it. But a lot of the disease-causing nasties, like the bacteria, the funguses, the parasites, and other microbes, they're what we call anaerobic, and they don't like the oxygen, so they will die in the presence of oxygen. So the ozone, which you can smell when you use the ray gun, it's a very powerful activated form of oxygen, and it will kill these anaerobic organisms without damaging your healthy cells. Now, why is it so important that the ray gun produces 222 nanometers of VUV light? Okay, it is very important. There are other wavelengths which will kill things, but they will damage your healthy cells, okay? So conventional germicidal UV light with wavelengths above 280 nanometers is considered dangerous, okay? It's biologically harmful for human skin. And unprotected exposure to wavelengths between 280 to 400 nanometers can lead to skin cancers, premature aging. You can get eye damage such as cataracts, eyelid cancers, okay? But if we look at the wavelength for the ray gun, the VUV light, if we look at VUV light in the range 180 to 280, it doesn't go through the outer dead layer of skin to harm the live cells below. But it does penetrate far enough to kill bacteria, viruses, and whatnot that are on the skin. And so far, there are no known side effects or complications associated with VUV light therapy. Good to know. Now, this is taken from the website that you can see the link at the bottom of the page here. And I actually got this information from John's YouTube talk. So it's the spooky ask an expert anything. And this is the YouTube link to his presentation. And I think it's about an hour and a half or nearly 2 hours long. And this is his showcase on ray gun. Now he goes into the next slides that I'm going to show you in great detail. I'm basically going to show you the absolute conclusions that they came to. So this was taken from a university here. And what they've done is they've done a study using the ultraviolet VUV light at 222 nanometers. Now, notice that they're calling it UVC, also known as far UVC. Okay. The important bit that I've highlighted here in the yellow, previous studies showed that due to its limited penetration depth, far UVC, meaning the 222 nanometers that ray gun produces, poses minimal health risks to human skin and eyes, as it is unable to reach the living cells beneath. This makes it a safer but equally potent alternative to the more damaging 254 nanometers, which is used in the germicidal lamps for disinfecting healthcare facilities. Now, when they use those, they can only sanitize empty rooms. You've got to have everybody out and you've got to have a lot of protective equipment. But the 222 that the ray gun is using, okay, this is safe. Okay, you can use it on yourself with confidence. They do supply UV glasses when you purchase the kit, but it is safe. It's not going to harm your skin cells and it's not going to harm your eyes. Okay, having said that, they don't recommend that you pick up the ray gun and blast it directly into your eye. Okay, that would not be recommended. But John has mentioned that even though it's not recommended to use it around the eyes, he has mentioned in his showcase that he did use it on his eyelids and it was completely safe. However, we're going to stick to the guidelines which are in the little MiraMate manual. And so we'll say, please don't look directly into the tube. Okay, now this is another study. So repetitive irradiation with 222 nanometer UVC shown to be non-carcinogenic, not cancer-causing, and safe for sterilizing human skin. Okay, so this is a joint research between Kobe University and Ushio Incorporated. Okay, and this is just the summary. So provided proof for the first time in the world that 222 nanometer ultraviolet radiation UVC does not cause skin cancer, is safe for human skin and eyes, and in animal experiments there were no signs of cataracts or cancer in the eyes or skin, even in mice who were particularly susceptible to ultraviolet radiation. Okay, now this was also mentioned in John's SAMA talk. Okay, so if you want to see the full explanation, please do go to that YouTube link that was on the previous page and have a listen to him there. Okay, so this is the findings from that study. Okay, so the mice that they used were a particular type of modified mouse, if you like. Okay, and these modified mice, compared to wild mice, have a 10,000-fold increased risk of developing skin cancer. And so in the group that was exposed to UVB, now notice the wavelength here. This is not the wavelength that the ray gun uses. 280 to 315. This is not ray gun. All the mice in that group developed skin cancer and displayed adverse effects such as cataracts and corneal damage. Conversely, the mice in the 222 nanometer germicide lamp group did not develop skin cancer at all. And bear in mind, these are mice that have a 10,000-fold increased risk of developing skin cancer compared to normal mice. The effect on their eyes was investigated in cooperation with Shimane University's Department of Ophthalmology, and there were no abnormalities visible even when examined under a microscope. Okay, if you want to see the full study, you can follow the link that was on the previous slide, or please check out John's SAMA talk. Now, what can it treat? And I'm very glad to see people are putting some questions in the Q&A. So it can treat acne, psoriasis, eczema, persistent itching, skin cancers such as melanoma, vitiligo, athlete's foot and nail fungus, other skin problems caused by funguses, bacteria, or viruses. You can use it for mold spots on walls and plants, and you can use it on your pets. The UV light can efficiently kill all bacteria, including drug-resistant bacteria, and even the so-called superbugs like the MRSA. Now, John Array's asked a question, can it help kill a skin abscess? And I would say yes, because an abscess is going to be caused by something pathogenic. So absolutely. Now, I can't say that it's going to go, deep enough into the root to get to the base of the abscess, depending on how deep the abscess goes, but it's certainly going to help at the top level. I think you should be doing something to support healing from the inside of the body as well. And, you know, things that I would think would be a good idea would be increasing your vitamin C, making sure, you know, possibly taking things like olive leaf, golden seal, things like that. Now, Gary says, can it be used on skin warts? You bet it can. And I'm going to show you a picture of my foot soon, which, yep, I did. I used it on a plantar wart, and it's made a massive improvement. Can it be used in your mouth and throat? No, you can't really get the gun into your mouth. If it's really for things on the surface of the skin, Doug. Okay. Now, does it really treat melanoma? Because that's a big claim. So in order to test this, what they did is they commissioned a private lab to test the ray gun on a particular strain of human melanoma cells. Okay. And you can hear about the full results in John's Sama talk, but this is just the summary. So what they did is they took these particularly dangerous and hard to kill melanoma cells, and they put them into 5 groups. The control group had no ray gun treatment at all. And then the other 4 groups, so you can see here groups 2, 3, 4, 5, it talks about contact mode and arc mode. Okay, we'll talk about what those 2 modes are later in the presentation. And it also says, some say with skin and some say with no skin. Now, Spooky is a very responsible company. And in order to test with and without skin, the skin from nude mice was used, but these mice had already been euthanized in other experiments. So they were not euthanized by anyone to do with Spooky 2 or MiraMate for the purposes of testing the product. The mice were already euthanized for other reasons. So what they did is they set up these 5 samples, and they tested the ray gun for 1 minute on each sample using these various methods. So either using contact mode with skin, contact mode with earthing in skin, arc mode with earthing in skin, arc mode with earthing in no skin. And they tested them straight after giving them a zap. They tested them again at 24 hours, and they tested them finally at 48 hours. They didn't test beyond the 48 hours, but you know, if you were actually treating a melanoma, you wouldn't just zap it once and leave it be. You would treat it twice a day, and you would do that every day. Regardless, here are the results. So these are the results at the immediately after 0 hours. The second group is after 24 hours, and the third group is after the 48 hours. And what this little graph is showing, it's showing the inhibition rate of the human melanoma cells. Okay, so if we go to the 48 hours, you can see that 2 of these columns are really, really standing out. Okay, now if we look at these, you can see that these are item 3 and item 5. And if we go back to this wee table here, item 3 was contact mode, VUV, with earthing and skin. And number 5 was arc mode with earthing, no skin. Now, you do have skin. So what we're trying to show here is that this is like really, this is one 1-minute treatment, okay? And we've got something like 42% inhibition in contact mode with earthing and skin. So we'll show you in a moment what that actually means in terms of treating yourself, okay? Whereas the control mode, there's been no inhibition at all, okay? Now, does it hurt? No, it doesn't. It really, really doesn't. I've used the ray gun on my feet. I've used it on my face. I've used it on my arms. I've used it on my husband's arms. I've used it on my husband's face. I've used it on my husband's back. And no, it really doesn't hurt. When you're using it in arc mode, you might feel a little bit of tingling. As you're using it for a longer period of time, you feel a little bit of heat, and you can smell the ozone, but it certainly doesn't hurt. Now, I'm really sorry, folks. This is a picture of my foot. Okay, so I had a plantar wart on my foot and it was being really persistent. So this is picture 1, okay? And this is within a couple of days of using the ray gun. Like, I think I used it for probably less than a minute. And because I've been very, very busy, I wasn't even doing it twice a day. It was more sort of just, a minute once a day. And it has cleared up remarkably. And it's even better now. Like it's brilliant. It's pretty much almost gone. And we haven't had the ray gun terribly long at all. So, and I'm very sorry for this photo as well. This is the love of my life. This is my husband. This is George. And as you can see in photo 1, George has been struggling with rosacea on his nose. And this is after just a couple of treatments with the ray gun. And again, we're not consistently doing it morning and night because at the moment George is traveling, so he's only popping in once or twice a week. So this is just after doing the ray gun the nighttime that he arrives, the morning that he leaves, and then often I don't see him again for 3 or 4 days, or sometimes I don't even see him again for a week. And his nose and cheeks have cleared up so much just using the ray gun a very few times that he wants to buy his own now so that he can take it traveling with him. Because I won't give up the ray gun that I've got here because it's just so useful. Okay, now let's talk about the various modes. So contact mode. If we look at the picture here, you can see that the tube is pressing right up against the skin. This is for sensitive skin and small skin problems. And this is what I've been doing on George's cheeks. I've been using the contact mode just like this. On his nose, I've been doing the arc mode and the contact. So even though the arc mode will give you a little tingle and you'll feel a wee zap, it's certainly not painful. And there's been no point in time where George has said, oh, I need to take a break from this. It's certainly nothing like that at all. Okay, this is the angle mode. And as you can see, all we're doing is we're holding the gun on the angle. So this is for non-sensitive skin. And the idea is that you move the gun backwards and forwards over the area of concern. You will see, okay, if you actually have a look, you'll actually see little arcs forming at the edges, and it gives off a wee purple light, okay? So the arc is a form of cold plasma, which creates more nitrous oxide and ozone and has higher power than contact mode because the energy is more focused. So this is the arc mode that they were talking about when they tested the 5 samples. So arc and angle mode, you can think of those as interchangeable terms. Now the penetration mode is when you have an earthing pad attached, and this is the earthing pad attached to the other side of the arm. The truth is it doesn't matter where you attach the earthing pad. It doesn't have to be attached close by. You can have it further away. You just want to make sure that it's not on a hairy part of the body. Okay. Now, Catherine says, can it treat chickenpox and herpes zoster? And I would say, yes, it can. But if you are going to use your ray gun on something of this nature, you will want to make sure that you clean the tube well before you share with another person. Okay. Now, the earthing pad can be used in combination with the other 2 modes. So you can either do contact mode with earthing or you can do the angle mode with earthing. And it's very, very easy to do. Okay, now I'm going to actually stop sharing at this point and actually show you what the ray gun looks like. There we go. Now, when you order your ray gun, it comes in this beautiful little case so that you really can pick it up and take it everywhere with you. You will get a ray gun and the little VUV glass tube, just like this. And it is so easy to use, okay? Just like all the MiraMate products are. So here's my ray gun, okay? Fits my hand very nicely. Here's my UV tube, okay? And all we do is we pop the UV tube into the ray gun, give it a wee push, okay? So it's pushed all the way down, and now the tube is in the ray gun, okay? Next thing to do is to connect the power cable. So depending on which country you live, the actual plug that plugs into the wall will be different, but the bit that goes into the gun will be the same. So on the bottom of the gun, there's a big hole and a small hole. This is only going to fit one of those holes, and it goes, and you've connected your ray gun. So if you're not doing earthing mode, you're actually ready to go. You can turn your ray gun on and actually just use it in contact mode or angle mode. Job done. Okay. Oh, actually, I should mention you would want to put on your UV glasses. So I will change to my UV glasses. Okay. So these are the glasses that come with the ray gun. Very stylish. Okay. Now, if I want to use the penetration mode, all I need to do is get an earthing pad. And this is the earthing lead. Okay. One end of this will plug into the earthing pad. So I'm just going to stick it on my hand. And I'm just simply plugging the earthing cable into that. Okay, the other end, it's a tiny little pin. There's only one other hole on the ray gun. There we go. And now I'm ready for penetration mode. So if I turn the ray gun on, there we go, she's turned on. And there's nothing on my hand, but I will just turn it on and use it just so you can see what happens. Okay, so I've got it in angle mode. You hear this little noise. I feel the tube heating up slightly, and I can move this around my hand. Okay, and that's it. That's how you use the ray gun. So I will just disconnect this and turn it off and pop it back in its wee carry case. You know, and she's all ready to use again next time. Now, if you've been using it on something like something that is contagious, okay, that you don't want to spread to somebody else, you would take the tube out and clean the tube before using it on the next person or on the next area of your own body. And that is very, very easy to do. So we'll talk about that next. Okay, so when you're using the ray gun, we fully insert the gas tube carefully into the ray gun. You don't want to force it. It is glass. It will break if you put too much pressure on it, but it's not hard to do. And it's not hard to remove either. I am not the strongest person in the world, and I can pop that thing in and out, no trouble at all. In fact, I will remove it from the ray gun right now just to show you. So if I wanted to take this out for cleaning, I just put my thumb and fingers and I give it a wee twist. She's out. Okay, and now she's ready for cleaning, and I can get what I usually do is get a large cotton pad, and I use either isopropyl alcohol or I spray it with a bit of colloidal silver, and I just wipe the tube over with that, leave it to dry completely before I put it back into the ray gun. Okay. Okay, you will know your ray gun is ready to use when you've plugged it into the wall, turned it on at the power, and you've got it connected into the ray gun, like shown in the picture here, because there will be a wee red light that comes on to show you that it's receiving power. Okay, so little important note here, always put on your protective UV glasses before using the ray gun. And when you're ready to go, you put the tube onto the problem area, either contact, flat against the skin, or angle mode, just like I showed you before. You push the buzzer, you hear that little high-pitched noise, and you basically keep it there for anywhere between 1 to 5 minutes, and you do this up to twice daily. When you are doing something for 1 to 5 minutes, oh my gosh, 5 minutes is the longest time ever. So sometimes I actually use the timer on my phone just so I know how long I've actually been doing it. So I'll go set timer for 2 minutes. So on my husband, actually, it's a shame I didn't take a photo of his back for you. We're not the youngest people in the world, and he's been getting what's called old age warts. And I'm not kidding. That's actually what the dermatologist calls them, old age warts. So he's been getting these old age warts all over his back, and I've been zapping them, and they are clearing up fantastically. It's absolutely brilliant. Okay. Now, when you're using the earthing pad, it wants to go onto clean, dry skin. Okay, so try and choose an area that you haven't been using moisturizing creams and things like that on. You know, just be nice and clean out of the shower, no creams, no oils, no nothing, and make sure you're nice and dry. Choose a location that doesn't have too much hair. If you are very hairy, you might just have to shave a wee patch to pop it on. Or if you were going to use it on a pet and you wanted to use earthing mode on a pet, you might have to, you know, shave a wee patch on the pet in order to use it. Otherwise, just go for straight contact or angle mode. Now, just like the other Spooky 2 equipment, don't put the earthing pad near the head or heart, okay? It doesn't matter how far away it is from the problem area. So if you're wanting to treat an area on your face, that's fine. You can still have the pad, on top of your shoulder. It doesn't have to be on your throat or right near where you don't have to put it on on the thyroid or anything like that. Keep it away from the thyroid, away from the heart. General rule, not above the shoulders, okay? Okay, now this is what the little tube looks like when you actually take it out. And this is an important note I forgot to say before. Now, some vacuum UV lights use mercury in the production because it makes the light brighter, but it's not as safe. And so this one won't glow as bright as other products that are on the market potentially, but it's safer because they don't use mercury. Okay, so when you take your little tube out, okay, all you want to do to clean it is use a soft cloth or tissue, okay, and you can use alcohol, water, or any other cleaning solution, okay. So I have used colloidal silver, and you just give it a wee rub, set it to dry, and then make sure it is completely dry before you put it back into the gun. Now, please do not use the ray gun if you are pregnant, have a pacemaker, or other internal electronic device. However, MRI-safe electronic devices can be used with the ray gun because it produces light. Please do not use it if you have epilepsy, light-induced seizures, or migraines. Now, also because it produces light, if you have something which is related to photosensitivity, such as, and here is the list, so porphyria, polymorphic light eruptions, solar urticaria, lupus, anything that makes the skin more sensitive to light, this could make it uncomfortable, cause a bit of skin swelling or something like this, okay? Now, related to that, in the next list, it says do not use if you have a history of keloid scar formation, but that also goes on to list some pharmaceuticals that you might take, which might make you more sensitive to light. Now, tetracyclines here, this is an antibiotic, and they can make you very sensitive to light. Now, if you get prescribed something like this, it is supposed to have a label on it from the pharmacy saying that you should avoid sun exposure. So if you've got any medication and there is a label on it saying to, stay out of the sun while you're taking this, that would be something that you wouldn't want to be taking while using the ray gun. Wait until you've finished that course of pharmaceutical before using the ray gun. Okay, now on the bottom of the ray gun, it has some little ventilation holes. Here they are here, okay? So don't shield these during use, and you really don't need to. I mean, when I'm holding the gun, the back of my hand is at the back here. This is where the trigger is, and the ventilation holes are well below the bottom of my fingers. I would really have to either use my other hand or really try and work hard to block them, okay? So it's not likely that you'll block them, but please don't. Okay, please do wear your UV glasses during use. Do not look directly into the ray gun, and they do say not to use on eyes and eyelids. Make sure skin is clean and free of sunblock and skincare products. Keep it away from liquids. Store it in a dry location. And honestly, there's no reason for you to store it anywhere other than the beautiful little carry bag that comes with your ray gun. I mean, it's perfectly designed, fits it perfectly. It's got a wee carry handle on it to take it places, very easy to store, very compact. It's not going to take up a lot of room in the cupboard, okay? So there's really no reason to store your ray gun anywhere other than in its lovely little carry case. Now, keep it out of reach of children, okay? Do not insert metal objects into the ray gun. It says do not share if you have a contagious skin disease. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't use it on a contagious skin disease, but I would take the tube out and clean it with something like isopropyl alcohol before using it again. If your ray gun does become wet inside, immediately unplug it and send it back to the factory. Please do not try to disassemble and repair it for yourself. Just send it back to Spooky. So I'm just going to have a look at the questions in the Q&A, and let's make sure that we've answered everything for everybody. Okay, let's have a look. Catherine says, can we use it on psoriasis and shingles? And I would say Yes, you can, Catherine. Absolutely. Psoriasis is one of the things that they do say you can use it on. And yeah, I would absolutely try it on shingles as well. I mean, shingles is a painful condition anyway. So if you're actually having an outbreak of shingles, you may not find it a very pleasant experience. And if that's the case, just stop, wait for the shingles flare to pass. But sometimes when you've had shingles, that where the blister has been, you can end up with some purple discoloration, and you can use the ray gun on that. And that can be very, very helpful. The purple discoloration following shingles usually will disappear in time anyway, but there's certainly no harm in using the ray gun to speed that up. Joanna says, is it safe to breathe in the ozone? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The amount that's being produced on the skin, yes, I can smell it when I'm doing it, and I've been able to smell the ozone when I'm treating my husband's back and when I'm, standing there zapping his nose. It's not dangerous at all. Doug says, can the ray gun be used to sterilize an open wound? Now, that is a really interesting question. And one of the gentlemen that tested the prototype of the ray gun did exactly that. He managed to cut himself somehow, and he reports back that yes, he did use it, and he was able to basically cauterize the wound. Now, I don't know how big the wound was, but yeah, that's exactly what he did with it, and he gives it a complete thumbs up, and he rates it highly for pretty much everything. Gail says, can it help with dark spots on the face? And the answer is likely yes. There are some dark spots on your skin that may have been there for so long that they may be resistant, but there are others which it will help fade very, very quickly. You won't know until you try, but yes, people have had success with dark spots on, not just on the face, but sometimes on the hands, but it depends how long the spot's been there. Okay, question from Dean. He's got a gun and he started using it yesterday. Has 20 to 25 problem areas on face and top and crown of head. He understands he should not use earthing mode. Okay, well, no, you can use earthing mode. You just can't put the pad on your head, but it doesn't matter how far away from the target area you place the pad. So if it was me and my husband's got thinning hair on top, and actually we used the ray gun on the top of his head the last time he came to visit, but I didn't put the pad on his head. What I did is I attached the pad sort of on the back of his shoulder here, okay? And that's absolutely fine. So it doesn't have to be attached exactly where you're zapping. As long as it's attached on the back of the shoulder, that will be absolutely close enough. I mean, the earthing cable itself is going to limit how far away you can place the pad. But this is the length of it here, and I'd say we've got probably 40 centimeters. Okay, so absolutely, if you're using the gun up on the top of your head, there is well and truly enough length of cable to attach the pad, onto your shoulder. Diana says, can she use it on your 4-year-old? Yep, absolutely. It's safe to use on children, it's safe to use on pets, and you can use it on plants. So there's not an age limit with this. So if they've got something on their skin, it's quite okay to use. Now, Matt says, would a larger TENS pad increase penetration versus a smaller TENS pad? I don't know the answer to that one, Matt. That is a question for the team at MiraMate to answer. So we will send a little message through and find out for them what the technology says on that. Okay, William's asking about age spots as well. Look, it depends on the age spots. It depends on what's causing them. Some age spots are caused by hormones rather than pathogens. So if it's a hormonal issue rather than a pathogen issue, and the age spot has been there a very long time, it may not fade as much as you are hoping for. You might be better off using something else. So there are other other products in the Spooky range. I'm actually standing in a scalar field as we speak, and I've got the Spooky 2 remotes running in another room. So those are things that you could try. But of course, don't forget all the nutrition sort of aspects to healing as well. So with something like that, I would actually think something like vitamin A, which I wouldn't just go and like take a lot of vitamin A or get a vitamin A cream. I would actually start juicing carrots. And you might find that some of your dark spots disappear when you drink carrot juice regularly. Okay. Now, Joanna says, can it be safely used for ear infections? Okay. It depends where the ear infection is. If we're talking about an infection that's actually on the skin, like on the lobe of the ear or up here on the ear, then yes, you can use it on the ear. You'll hear the high-pitched noise by having it close to your ear. But if you're talking about an infection deeper in the ear, like in the ear canal, it's not really going to do that. The VUV light doesn't really travel through air AIR terribly well. Okay, it's really for something that's on the skin. Okay, so if we're talking about an infection that you see on the skin of the ear itself, yeah, go for it. But if it's something in the ear, no, I'd be looking for something else there. Do the TENS pads come with it, says Linda? And yes, they do. So you get a whole pack of little pads. Okay, here's my little pack. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, which I haven't even opened, plus the 5th one, which I have opened. And each one has got 2 pads. So I've actually got 10 pads in total came with it. And if you need to order replacement pads, although these don't have the logo, they are the same little TENS pads that are used with the Spooky 2 Rife machines. And you can order replacement pads very, very easily from Spooky 2. Okay, has anybody got any other questions? Because this is a very quick presentation because MiraMate products are so easy to use. It's literally plug it in, turn it on, use it. Okay, that's literally how all the MiraMate products work. They're not complicated at all. Okay, Dean says it takes an hour to treat all of the spots. Okay. Okay, so 20 to 25 spots. Look, you should see results quite quickly. Like even with not being faithful to treat my husband's nose morning and night every single day because he's not here all the time, we saw results on his nose really, really quickly. And the little old age warts on his back, they were virtually gone within 1 or 2 treatments as well, which were not consecutive treatments. He's got other little spots on his arm, and we're not sure if they're little skin cancers or more advanced warts. They're being a little bit more resistant, but we are seeing improvement. So with those, when we started using the ray gun, they actually went crusty and started to flake off. They're still there, but they have smoothed out. So when we first started, they were very, very raised and crusty. They've actually flaked and healed over, and we're just keeping going every time he comes over. But this is why he wants to get his own ray gun to take on the road with him. Okay, Fred says, on the arc or angle mode, is it best to put the resting edge of the lamp on the blemish, or are you projecting from the center of the lamp to the area in question? Okay, so in arc mode, I tend to just move it around. I mean, it's you know, I move I'll get the ray gun and I'll show you. I tend to just move it backwards and forwards over the little area of question. So I'll put my little piece back in here and we'll stop sharing so that I can actually see you. Okay, all right. So when I'm using the arc mode, okay, so particularly if I'm treating my husband for rosacea, what I'm actually doing is I tend to be moving it backwards and forwards over the target area. I keep the gun on the whole time, and it's more sort of just moving it around across his cheeks, going backwards and forwards like that. So wherever the wee blemish is, I would just keep the gun just moving slightly. I mean, like I'm not moving it across huge stretches of skin. I'm just moving it slightly just around that one little area, and then you're sure to be able to get it. Sometimes when you are moving and you have it slightly above the surface of the skin, you'll actually see the little arcs, little plasma arcs going between the gun and the skin, and you will feel it. Okay, Joanna says, can we order extra of the glass attachments? Absolutely, you can. So each of those little glass tubes has a life expectancy of about 500 hours, okay, which is a very, very long time. And yeah, so once your 500 hours is up and you need to order a new tube, no problems at all. Just go straight onto the site. You can even order a replacement tube at the same time if you wanted to. But 500 hours is a really, really long time when you're only using it for, even if you've got multiple spots that you want to use it on, it may only be sort of, 10 minutes twice a day sort of thing. You're going to get a lot of use out of your 500 hours. Now, Cindy says, can you use it on inflamed gums? And I'm going to have to say probably not so easily, because, here's my mouth, here's the gun. It's not going to be easy to actually fit the gun in my mouth, and you're not supposed to be getting the gun wet. So I would say not ideal for gums. For inflamed gums, something like gingivitis, I would potentially be looking at a different product like the Spooky Scalar or like the Spooky Central or something like that. Okay, Elaine says her dog's got a mast cell tumor on his hip, which looks like a big, round, wet sore. Will it be okay on the dog? Yes, it certainly won't do any harm. It's not going to harm any healthy cells. Depending on how deep the tumor goes, though, this is really something for treating the surface layers. Okay, the VUV radiation is mostly absorbed in the first layers of the skin. It's not going deep into the skin. The nitric oxide is and the ozone is what's penetrating into the skin when you're using the earthing mode. The VUV light itself is for treating the surface. So if the tumor is not just something on the surface, I think I would look for something else for that. And I would probably suggest that you talk to the lovely people at Spooky about the Central, which is actually what I'm presenting on next month. And I really, really highly rate the Central machine as well. Okay, now I can see some messages going into the chat. Please just make sure you are putting your questions in the Q&A. I'll just quickly check the chat to see if I've missed anything. Can you clean? So David has sent a message. Can you clean it using cotton ball and alcohol or hydrogen peroxide? The answer is yes. Okay. So I use cotton pads rather than cotton ball. So it's just a big flat pad like this. It's actually a baby cleaning pad. It's not treated with any chemicals or anything like that. It's organic cotton, safe to use on baby's bottom. And so I get one of these and I either spray it with my isopropyl alcohol and then clean the tube, or I spray it with colloidal silver and clean the tube. But yep, you could absolutely use another cleaning solution on it. And it's nice and soft, doesn't scratch. And I just take the tube out of the gun, okay, which is very easy to do. Just thumb and finger around the little tube here. And I'm giving it a wee twist to help it come out. She's popped out. There it is. Okay, there's my wee tube. And I just have my cotton pad in one hand. And because it's nice and big, I wrap it around and I give it a good clean and then pop it back in its wee case. And I let it dry completely before she goes back in the gun. Okay, now David, to see how much it costs in your local currency, go onto the MiraMate website, click on it there. The prices, when I click on it, I see it in American dollars, even though I'm in Australia. And when I purchased mine recently, I think it was about 312 American. Here in Australia, we're on 240 volts. So they've sent it to me with a plug that plugs into like an Australian power point. And I'll just have a look at the power supply. Okay. It says output 12 volts. Okay. So it's taking my 240 AC and it's outputting 12 volts. Now, when you get yours, it won't say ray gun written on this, but because I'm accumulating so many Spooky and MiraMate products, I want to make sure I'm using the right adapter with the right product. So when they come in, I make sure I label them so nothing ever gets plugged into the wrong adapter. Okay, and I'm just going to skim up the chat again just to make sure we haven't missed anybody's questions. Oh, Peter, I see a question about using it for rosacea. Absolutely. I 100% recommend it for rosacea. It has worked a treat on my husband. Like, he's so impressed with it. Gary, is there a flashing mode? No. You hold the trigger and it goes. So it's not pulsing on and off. It's on the whole time that you're holding the trigger down. Okay, and I'm just going to scroll back up, see if there's anything else that anyone's mentioned. Hey, Lynette's got an interesting question about a sac of fluid on the elbow and whether you can use it on that. Look, it's more for pathogens. So if there's something pathogenic causing that sac of fluid, and remember, it's only going to go into the surface layers of the skin. Otherwise, if it's something deeper than that, I'd be seeking other solutions, and you might want to possibly look at castor oil packs. You might want to look at the Spooky scalar, something like that. Matt, I love your comment. He's treated what was left of a larger basal cell carcinoma and the ray gun works. That is exactly what we want to hear. Congratulations. That is awesome. Okay. So I'm just scrolling up through the chat just to make sure. I don't think I've missed anything. But if I have, please jump into the Q&A right now for me. This is the last chance to put a question where I will actually be able to see it. Now, Gary says, is there a deal to replace older models? Send an email to Spooky for that one. I can't answer that one. But have a chat to them. Otherwise, if there isn't, make sure you use the discount code that I had at the end of the presentation. Okay, Lynette's got a question about earthing mode. No, so earthing is an addition to contact mode. So contact mode, sorry, putting the tube back in my gun. There we go. And she's in. So contact mode, straight onto the skin, okay? So there's no angle, there's no arc, that's contact. Angle, I put it on an angle, okay? And you can see that it's no longer 90 degrees to my arm. Earthing mode, okay, that's the penetration mode. That is when I get the earthing pad and I connect that to the gun as well. So let's say I've stuck an earthing pad on and connected it with the cables, okay? So you would connect the cables, okay? The gun's not plugged in and the cable's not plugged in, but imagine that I have. So your earthing mode can be used contact earthing or angle earthing. The earthing just refers to the fact that I've put an earthing pad onto it as well. Okay, and yeah, the earthing mode means that so not the UV rays don't go deeper. They're still absorbed in the surface layer of the skin, okay? But the nitric oxide and the ozone effects, they go deeper. It pulls the current deeper. Okay, will it work on skin tags and moles? Give it a go. It didn't work on my husband's got little red moles on his back. We didn't notice an effect on that. Neither of us have got any skin tags to test it on. But there are other things that will work on skin tags. Like if you have a wee look, I've even heard about people getting dental floss and and actually just tying it around the skin tag, and the skin tag will drop off. Otherwise, if it's really concerning you, I would sort of look into the Spooky 2 scaler, the Spooky 2 Rife machines. That might be something that can help, because I've read testimonials on the site that they have been helpful for people. Okay, Dean says he's got a spot 1.5 inch under each eye. How do I treat without going under the glasses? And yeah, that is a real problem. Okay, so when I've got the UV glasses on, if I want to treat my own face, okay, yeah, it's really hard. The glasses are in the way. Now, what we've been doing with my husband is, because I'm the one treating him, he's not actually wearing the glasses. I'm wearing the glasses so I can see what to do. He sits there with his eyes shut. And I angle the gun down so that it's not, not sort of going directly there. And I also try and, as I'm treating his face, I try and just put my hand above, and I try and go under my own hand to try and, shield any rays going up. But there's been absolutely no issues with that at all. So if it's 1.5 inches under, I'm guessing it would be pretty much just on the edge of the glasses. So if you have to take the glasses off, keep your eyes shut while you're doing it. Now, Lynette, you've got a question. What is ACK mode? I think you mean arc mode. So arc mode and angle mode are used interchangeably. So it just means having it on an angle, okay? And it can be referred to as arc mode because you will sometimes see the tiny arcs of the plasma coming off, like little purple electric lines between your skin and the gun. Okay, Matt says, have we noticed any drying of the skin? I would say no, except that on the very, very large and stubborn, crusty things that were on my husband's arm, they crusted and came off, and they are now much smoother, but not necessarily drier. But there was that crusting where they came off. His face, where I've been treating, no dryness there, no dryness on me, no dryness on his back. Haven't noticed anything like that at all. Now, Gary says, how long to treat for a basal cell carcinoma? Look, it depends how big it is. But look, and it depends how long you use the gun for. So for something like that, I would be setting the timer and making sure I'm really giving it a good going. And I would probably use 2 to 3 minutes minimum twice a day. So sometimes 2 to 3 minutes just seems like such a long time when you're standing there holding the trigger and you're like, I've got to cook dinner and I've got 100 things to do. But set a timer, be faithful, give it 2 to 3 minutes twice a day, and just keep going till it's gone. Okay, you can use the ray gun anywhere between 1 to 5 minutes at a time per spot. Okay. Oh, Lynette, my accent. Yes, I am from John White's homeland. I'm a Kiwi living in Australia, and I get caught out for my accent all the time. So Fred says, is the arc coming from the edge of the lamp or the center? Well, when I've been doing it, not that I'm looking into the lamp, because you're not supposed to do that, but what I see is that it seems to arc between the edge closest to where it's contacting the skin. So I would say that the arc is from the edge. Okay, and Matt, who has been successful in treating his little cancer, says you just keep using it until it's gone, and and be prepared that it could bleed a little. I mean, we certainly saw crusting over. He says you may see a little bit of bleeding, but keep using it till it's gone. So look, if nobody has any other questions, but look, I highly recommend the ray gun. It's so simple to use. It's really, really easy. And the little carry case that it's in, it's just a wonderful little thing to have in the medicine cabinet and just be able to pull it out when needed. And it really is very, very simple. Okay, no other questions from anybody? Thank you so much for coming along. And I look forward to seeing some of you next month when I'm presenting on the Spooky Central. Bye-bye.